Durangos, I have one. But it's not the Beast.
It's not the Beast, but it is a car that the president has traveled in before, so you never know what could emerge from. But it may have been it may have been another Secretary of State or something. Who knows? But yes, there's a motorcade. It is parked right in front of the tent. So if anybody gets out that we recognize, we'll be sure to let you know. Yes, there's really nothing else we can do here but dance and smile because it's raining and hot and oh well, we're still here. So donate so we can umbrellas, as we said. But yes, it's great to be here.
We weren't allowed to bring them in.
Despite the inclement weather, we are still here bringing you guys uninterrupted live coverage of what will soon be President Trump's remarks. In under 45 minutes from now, President Donald J. Trump will take the stage here at the Salute to America event on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The National Mall is packed. Go over to our Instagram at RSB Network to check out pictures and videos of the, the helicopter's going over again, to check out pictures and videos of the National Mall to see just how packed it is. That was a couple hours ago, and it's just gotten fuller from there. As you can see, the standing room only area has gotten pretty packed too. The press risers are packed. People on both sides of us are packed. That bulletproof Suburban is now backing into a tent, and there's Secret Service surrounding it, so I don't know. Maybe somebody got out and they're now pulling away. We're not really sure who it is. I can't quite tell. Yeah, it is, but you can see there's the bulletproof Suburbans have a very distinct look. The windows are a lot smaller. The glass is like a different tint because it's so thick. But yes.
Tell me what that is.
What?
On the corner.
Oh, that's a weather thing. That tracks wind speed and moisture and all that jazz. We can tell you, we're basically a weather station. We can tell you it is wet.
There is a 30% chance it's raining.
There was a 30% chance, and that 30% chance became 100%. As you can see, we're having quite fun here because there's nothing else we can do, but we appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate your guys' continued support. And the people next to us are going to do a live shot, so we're going to step off camera for just a second so we don't interrupt them as we want to get along with all our fellow members of the press. So we'll just give you a nice live shot of the current surroundings of the podium, of the people standing behind it, the band or orchestra. So yes. The military band is now coming in. They're going to take those seats in front of us, as you might be able to see. Sorry if the umbrellas were blocking it, but the military band is now filing in. I know we're so sorry that those umbrellas are blocking, but we're going to try and get you as best a shot as possible. The presidential seal has just got onto the podium up there. Presidential seal is now in place behind the bulletproof glass. So we apologize if the shot may not be as clear as usual. We are going to have to be shooting through bulletproof glass that is covered in rain and water, so it may not be as clear as usual, but there's nothing we can do about that. That's just how it goes. You deal with the new situation every time. You got to be very adaptable in this business. But again, even though it's raining, there are still tens of thousands of people out here excited to see the president, excited to hear his remarks. We heard a few excerpts from his remarks a few minutes ago from Bailey Byers, our other wonderful reporter. And now we are just here waiting. As I did mention, there was a armored SUV that did pull up. We're not quite sure who was in that. I don't believe it was the president. As we did mention earlier, there is security on the roof of the Lincoln Memorial, snipers looking out to make sure there's no threats in the crowd to the president or to any of the other people here. They do a wonderful job of ensuring that everybody here is safe and has a great time and a protected time, and that nobody gets hurt. We do apologize. Again, the logistics are very complicated today. There's lots of people, lots of weather. So if we step in and out or take a break or whatever, it's just because we're trying to get out of the rain, trying to stay a little bit dry, as there's lots going on here, lots of media doing live shots. Of course, we're the only ones that are live continuously all the time, 100%. So it adds an element of fun to it. It adds a little bit of something different to see. So we are anticipating military flyover soon. The president said he was going to be here at 6:30, which is in 20 minutes from now. Just 20 minutes from now, the president is expected to take the stage. He is slated to leave the White House very soon, if he has not already. I believe the press schedule said 6:10 or 6:15. Him and the First Lady would depart the White House to the Lincoln Memorial. Servicemen and women continue to file in the area directly surrounding the podium. Lots of people, people of all backgrounds. The VIP sections to the left and right of us are filled. The band has now taken place, and they look like they're about to play a song. So we're going to turn it back over to the regular event audio so you guys can hear what the military band has to do. We're going to do that in just a few minutes from now, so don't go anywhere. Obviously, the military band is incredible at what they do. and we want you guys to be able to hear that. So until they go, we're going to keep talking, but once they come on, we want to give you the best opportunity possible to hear them, even if you can't see them, as they are a very talented, very impressive group of dedicated men and women. They're about to start that, so we will let you guys know as soon as we can if we're able to bring that to you, bring the sound to you. But until then, just enjoy the scenery. It's a rainy day in Washington, so I hope all of you are at home dry and comfortable wherever you may be, and enjoying the festivities, because I know we sure are. It's a beautiful event, very patriotic, awesome to see so many Americans coming together to celebrate the 4th of July in a variety of forms. Tons of different demonstrations. The military tanks are flanking the left and right of the Washington Monument. And with that, we are going to turn it back over to the audio so you guys can hear the military band who is about to take the stage. We do want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will back a little bit later to continue to provide continuous coverage of the Salute to America event here in the National Mall in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. So stay right here with Right Side Broadcasting Network. You don't have to go anywhere as we'll continue the stream. We're going to let you enjoy some of the audio, and we will be back to talk to you very soon. Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, and the Second Lady of the United States, Karen Pence.
Which side of the car was he on? Your side? You know? You couldn't tell?
I wasn't looking.
No.
Yep. Daniela. But usually one is back up, one for some reason something happens. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing for the presentation of the colors by the United States Armed Forces Color Guard and the national anthem as performed by the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own, and the United States Army Chorus under the direction of Colonel Andrew Esch.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump.
Hello, America. Hello. The First Lady and I wish each and every one of you a happy Independence Day on this truly historic 4th of July. Today we come together as one nation with this very special salute to America. We celebrate our history, our people, and the heroes who proudly defend our flag, the brave men and women of the United States military. We are pleased to have with us Vice President Mike Pence and his wonderful wife, Karen. We're also joined by many hardworking members of Congress, Acting Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, and many other members of my cabinet, and also the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joe Dunford. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Lieutenant General Daniel Hawkinson of the National Guard, and distinguished leaders representing each branch of the United States Armed Forces, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Marines, and very soon, the Space Force. As we gather this evening, in the joy of freedom, we remember that all share a truly extraordinary heritage. Together, we are part of one of the greatest stories ever told, the story of America. It is the epic tale of a great nation whose people have risked everything for what they know is right and what they know is true. It is the chronicle of brave citizens who never give up on the dream of a better and brighter future. And it is the saga of 13 separate colonies that united to form the most just and virtuous republic ever conceived. On this day, 243 years ago, our founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to declare independence and defend our God-given rights. Thomas Jefferson wrote the words that forever changed the course of humanity. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. With a single sheet of parchment and 56 signatures, America began the greatest political journey in human history. But on that day, the patriots who would determine the ultimate success of the struggle were 100 miles away in New York. There, the Continental Army prepared to make its stand, commanded by the beloved General George Washington. As the delegates debated the Declaration in Philadelphia, Washington's army watched from Manhattan as a massive British invading fleet loomed dangerously across New York Harbor. The British had come to crush the revolution in its infancy. Washington's message to his troops laid bare the stakes. He wrote, "The fate of unborn millions will now depend under God on the courage and conduct of this army. We have therefore to resolve to conquer or die." Days later, General Washington ordered the Declaration read aloud to the troops. The assembled soldiers just joined an excited crowd running down Broadway. They toppled a statue of King George and melted it into bullets for battle. The faraway king would soon learn a timeless lesson about the people of this majestic land. Americans love our freedom, and no one will ever take it away from us. That same American spirit that emboldened our founders has kept us strong throughout our history. To this day, that spirit runs through the veins of every American patriot. It lives on in each and every one of you here today. It is the spirit, daring and defiance, excellence and adventure, courage and confidence, loyalty and love that built this country into the most exceptional nation in the history of the world. And our nation is stronger today than it ever was before. It is its strongest now. That same righteous American spirit forged our glorious Constitution. That rugged American character led the legendary explorers Lewis and Clark on their perilous expedition across an untamed continent. It drove others to journey west and stake out their claim on the wild frontier. Devotion to our founding ideals led American patriots to abolish the evil of slavery, secure civil rights, and expand the blessings of liberty to all Americans. This is the noble purpose that inspired Abraham Lincoln to rededicate our nation to a new birth of freedom and to resolve that we will always have a government of, by, and for the people. Our quest for greatness unleashed a culture of discovery that led Thomas Edison to imagine his light bulb, Alexander Graham Bell to create the telephone, the Wright brothers to look to the sky and see the next great frontier. For Americans, nothing is impossible. Exactly 50 years ago this month, the world watched in awe as Apollo 11 astronauts launched into space with a wake of fire and nerves of steel and planted our great American flag on the face of the moon. Half a century later, we are thrilled to have here tonight the famed NASA flight director who led mission control during that historic endeavor, the renowned Gene Kranz. Gene, I want you to know that we're going to be back on the moon very soon, and someday soon we will plant the American flag on Mars. It's happening, Gene. It's happening. Our nation's creativity and genius lit up the lights of Broadway and the sound stages of Hollywood. It filled the concert halls and airwaves around the world with the sound of jazz, opera, country, rock and roll, and rhythm and blues. It gave birth to the musical, the motion picture, the Western, the World Series, the Super Bowl, the skyscraper, the suspension bridge, the assembly line, and the mighty American automobile. It led our citizens to push the bounds of medicine and science to save the lives of millions. Here with us this evening is Dr. Emanuel Freireich. When Emanuel began his work, 99% of children with leukemia died. Thanks largely to Dr. Freireich's breakthrough treatments, currently 90% of those with the most common childhood leukemias survive. Doctor, you are a great American hero. Thank you. Americans always take care of each other. That love and unity held together the first pilgrims. It forged communities on the Great Plains. It inspired Clara Barton to found the Red Cross, and it keeps our nation thriving today. Here tonight, from the Florida Panhandle, is Tina Belcher. Her selfless generosity over 3 decades has made her known to all as Mrs. Angel. Every time a hurricane strikes, Mrs. Angel turns her tiny kitchen into a disaster relief center. On a single day after Hurricane Michael, she gave 476 people a warm meal. Mrs. Angel, your boundless heart inspires us all. Thank you. Thank you very much. From our earliest days, Americans of faith have uplifted our nation. This evening, we are joined by Sister Deirdre Byrne. Sister Byrne is a retired Army surgeon who served for nearly 30 years. On September 11, 2001, the sister raced to Ground Zero. Through smoke and debris, she administered first aid and comfort to all. Today, Sister Byrne runs a medical clinic serving the poor in our nation's capital. Sister, thank you for your lifetime of service. Thank you. Our nation has always honored the heroes who serve our communities. The firefighters, first responders, police, sheriffs, ICE, Border Patrol, and all of the brave men and women of law enforcement. On this July 4th, we pay special tribute to the military service members who laid down their lives for our nation. We are deeply moved to be in the presence this evening of Gold Star families whose loved ones made the supreme sacrifice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Throughout our history, our country has been made ever greater by citizens who risked it all for equality and for justice. 100 years ago this summer, the women's suffrage movement led Congress to pass the constitutional amendment giving women the right to vote. In 1960, a thirst for justice led African-American students to sit down at the Woolworth lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. It was one of the very first civil rights sit-ins, and it started a movement all across our nation. Clarence Henderson was 18 years old when he took his place in history. Almost 6 decades later, he is here tonight in a seat of honor. Clarence, thank you for making this country a much better place for all Americans. In 1963, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. stood here on these very steps and called on our nation to live out the true meaning of its creed and let freedom ring for every citizen all across our land. America's fearless resolve has inspired heroes who defined our national character, from George Washington, John Adams, and Betsy Ross to Douglas, Frederick Douglass, the great Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Amelia Earhart, Douglas MacArthur, Dwight Eisenhower, Jackie Robinson, and, of course, John Glenn. It has willed our warriors up mountains and across minefields. It has liberated continents, split the atom, and brought tyrants and empires to their knees. Here with us this evening is Earl Morse. After retiring from the Air Force, Earl worked at a VA hospital in Ohio. Earl found that many World War II veterans could not afford to visit their memorial on the National Mall. So Earl began the very first honor flights that have now brought over 200,000 World War II heroes to visit America's monument. Earl, thank you. We salute you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Earl. Thank you. Thank you. Our warriors from a hallowed roll call of American patriots running all the way back to the first souls who fought and won American independence. Today, just as it did 243 years ago, the future of American freedom rests on the shoulders of men and women willing to defend it. We are proudly joined tonight by heroes from each branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, including 3 recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Thank you. They and thousands before us served with immense distinction, and they loved every minute of that service. To young Americans across our country, now is your chance to join our military and make a truly great statement in life, and you should do it. We will now begin our celebration of the United States Armed Forces, honoring each branch's unique culture, rich history, service song, and distinct legacy. I invite Acting Secretary, please, Mark Esper, Secretary of Defense, and Chairman Dunford, Head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, please join me. In August of 1790, by request of George Washington and Alexander Hamilton, Congress established a fleet of 10 swift vessels to defend our shores. These revenue cutters would fight pirates, stop smugglers, and safeguard our borders. They are the ancestors of our faithful Coast Guard. When our ships were seized and sailors kidnapped by foreign powers in 1812, it was a revenue cutter, the swift schooner Thomas Jefferson, that swept in to capture the first British vessel of the war. In 1897, when 265 whalers were trapped in ice and the ice fields of Alaska were closing up, courageous officers trekked 1,500 miles through the frozen frontier to rescue those starving men from certain death. In 1942, the Coast Guard manned landing craft for invasions in the Pacific when the enemy attacked U.S. Marines from the shores of Guadalcanal. Coast Guard Signalman First Class Douglas Munro used his own boat to shield his comrades from pounding gunfire. Munro gave his life. Hundreds of Marines were saved. As he lay dying on the deck, his final question embodied devotion that sails with every Coast Guardsman. Did they get off? On D-Day, the Coast Guard's famous Matchbox fleet served valiantly through every hour of the greatest amphibious invasion in the history of our country. One coxswain said the water boiled with bullets like a mud puddle in hailstorm, but still the Coast Guard braved death to put our boys on Utah and Omaha beaches. Every Coast Guardsman is trusted to put service before all. Coasties plunge from helicopters and barrel through pouring rain and crashing waves to save American lives. They secure our borders from drug runners and terrorists in rough seas, at high speeds. Their sharpshooters take out smugglers' engines with a single shot. They never miss. When the red racing stripes of a Coast Guard vessel break the horizon, when their chopper blades pierce the sky, those in distress know that the help is on their way, and our enemies know their time has come. These guardians of our waters stand semper paratus. They are always ready. They are the United States Coast Guard. Representing the Coast Guard today, you will soon see an HH-60 Jayhawk helicopter based at Coast Guard Air Station Clearwater, along with an HH-65 Dolphin from Air Station Atlantic City and an HC-144 Ocean Sentry from Air Station Miami. Thank you. Thank you to the Coast Guard. On a cold December morning in 1903, a miracle occurred over the dunes of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, when two bicycle makers from Ohio defied gravity with a 12-horsepower engine, wings made of cotton, and just a few dollars in their pockets. Just 6 years later, America was training its first pilots to take these magnificent machines up and over the field of battle. In World War I, our flyboys rushed the skies of Europe, and aces like Eddie Rickenbacker filled hearts and headlines with tales of daring duels in the clouds. General Billy Mitchell saw the promise of this technology and risked court-martial in his quest for an independent Air Force. He was proven right when empires across the oceans tried to carve up the world for themselves, and America stood in the way. We wouldn't let it happen. After Pearl Harbor, Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle and his raiders flew B-25 bombers off a carrier deck in the deep Pacific in a daring feat of American resolve. And as President Roosevelt said, the Nazis built a fortress around Europe, but they forgot to put a roof on So we crushed them all from the air. 177 Liberator bombers flew dangerously low through broad daylight without fighter protection to cripple the Nazi war machine at Ploiesti. More than 300 airmen gave their lives to destroy the enemy oil refineries, and 5 pilots were awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for their actions in that single raid. It was Airman Chuck Yeager who first broke the sound barrier. It was airmen like Gus Grissom and Buzz Aldrin who traded their Sabre jets for rockets to the stars. And it is our incredible airmen today who wield the most powerful weapon systems on the planet Earth. For over 65 years, no enemy air force has managed to kill a single American soldier because the skies belong to the United States of America. No enemy has attacked our people without being met by a roar of thunder and the awesome might of those who bid farewell to earth and soar into the wild blue yonder. They are the United States Air Force. Representing the Air Force, you will soon see beautiful, brand new F-22 Raptors from Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, and one magnificent B-2 stealth bomber from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. What a great country. In October of 1775, the Continental Congress ordered the construction of 2 swift sailing vessels, each carrying 10 cannons and 80 men to sail eastward. Our young fleet tested their sea legs against the most powerful navy the world has ever seen. John Paul Jones, America's first great naval hero, said, "I wish to have no connection with any ship that does not sail fast, for I intend to go in harm's way." He got his wish many times when his ship was shot into pieces off the coast of England by a British vessel and her 4 dozen guns. When demanded to surrender, Jones very famously declared, "I have not yet begun to fight,